Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Welcome to the Real Female Entrepreneurs. Our next guest doesn't just talk about burnout, she blows the whistle on it and rewrites the rules. She is a licensed clinical social worker, trauma specialist, global speaker, and award winning author who spent 25 plus years moving people from barely surviving to thriving like a boss. Known as the compassion fatigue lady and a self proclaimed burnout culture disruptor, she's tackling everything from pay gaps to mental health disparities while helping workplace trade stress for sustainable success. With two powerhouse companies and a heart for service, she is proof that purpose and power can coexist. Please help me welcoming the amazing Sharise Nance. Welcome, Sharise.
Thank you. It's like a walking billboard. I have to take you everywhere with me.
That would be fun. We'd actually have a blast. I just
We
spent
will.
a few minutes talking to you, and I already feel like you're a sister from another mother, and we would have so much fun together.
Yes.
So, okay, something had to happen. You became a licensed social worker,
Mhm.
and you probably went to work full time. I don't know
Mhm.
yet.
Mhm.
If you don't mind, tell me the story that flipped the switch that made you go, "Oh no, this isn't gonna happen. I'm gonna
Yeah.
become an entrepreneur."
Yeah, so it's quite a story, and I come from a family. My paternal side of the family, my dad's family, is a family full of entrepreneurs. It started with my grandparents. They have run businesses since before I was born. They worked really hard and they invested in businesses. So I got to see that journey and that picture from when I was a little girl. And I just remember them talking about it and seeing my grandmother and the boss that she was, and I admired that. I'm like, "Wow, I wanna do that." I don't know what she does, but I know I wanna do that. And obviously, I went to school and I was working and I knew I wanted to help people in some capacity, but I always had this image in my mind of being like this boss woman with this sharp suit on and these red bottoms and carrying this suitcase and just having this like great team of people, like positive energy. And I just visualized this building. It was just always this vision in my head. Didn't know what it was or what it looked like. And so I decided I went into the helping profession. I've worked in many jobs in social services as a social worker, as a mental health therapist, and I also did some multi-level marketing, and I know it gets a bad rep, but I will say what I appreciate the most about it was the professional development, the books that I've read, the people that I met, the energy, the mindset. I have come across some amazing experiences and lessons and people, and it really helped set me up for my businesses today. I'm not afraid of rejection. I'm not afraid of asking and making calls and doing all the uncomfortable things based on what I did then. And my first business, private counseling practice, hand in hand counseling services, opened with a partner, a friend. We went to college together, Tess. And we did that on a part time basis, and we still worked our full time jobs. And when it started getting busy, I'm like, I got to make a choice. And I'm choosing me and this business. So I have to take this leap. And I went to this conference, and I'll never remember this woman. I have to shout her out. Her name is Tiffany, and she said, "You got to put a bad win date on it." And that stuck with me like forever. It's very simple, but I'm like, I keep talking about it, but if there's no date, I'm never going to take that leap. So I put a date on it. July 7th, 2017 is going to be the day that I leave my full time job and do my business full time. And I was scared, do it scared, right? And I did it, and it was great. Like the first 6 months was awesome. I made a lot of money. I was busy. And even when it got hard, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, it got very hard, but I never once thought about I'm going back to work. I was like so aligned with my mission and my purpose and my passion that I was fine with that stress because there's going to be stress and tension no matter what path you take. I'm okay with this and I'm going to figure this out. And when I come on the other side of it, there are going to be so many other people who are going to be helped. I'm going to be unstoppable. We're going to be unstoppable.
Definitely. I okay, there's a few takeaways there. I love how you called your grandma a boss. I can
She
just see
was.
her.
Oh my God. She is, they call her the joke, Lord rest her soul. We lost her in April, but she was 90 years old. She lived the best life.
Mm.
The General was the name, just the funny
That's
name that
my
we had for her.
nickname.
Oh, because what she said went, it was, this is not open for discussion, and she get that finger going and she give you that look, but she just had that perfect balance of knowing when to challenge you and hold you accountable and knowing when to give you a hug and when to nurture you. Like she just had it.
Mhm, definitely. So, yeah, so the General is a nickname that my husband's daughter's ex-husband used to call me. He's ex-military, and he called me the
Oh,
General,
okay, okay.
and
That's
so
funny. Yeah, the General. Yeah, that's
so I love that. So I love the fact you called her a boss, and that is what was instilled into you, that
mhm.
that boss mentality, and I love your description of the building and what you wore. Oh my god, the visualization.
It has never left my, I had that visual in my head when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I remember she and I having a conversation. I think we were just in her car. We were going to lunch or we were going somewhere, and she was just asking me like, "So what do you wanna be when you grow up? What do you wanna do? Like, how do you see it? Describe it to me." And I was like, "Kinda like you. I wanna be a boss, but I knew what red bottoms were." I want to wear red bottoms and this suit and this this briefcase and just having good people around me, and we're all winning, and there's this building and this corner office. I just saw it all. I didn't know what I was going to be doing it, how I was going to be doing it, but the visual, it has never left. Like it's like implanted in my brain.
And how old were you?
It's about between 7 and 9.
Okay, so let's think about this, what she did for you. She got you to at such a young age to pick your life and what you wanted to look like, and
She did.
so amazing, and
She
you
did.
actually got to visualize that for how many years now?
Almost 40 years. I'll be 45 in November, and she would even say when times got hard, she would say, "Remember what you told me? You said this is what you wanted." And I'm like, "You're right. You're right." And that has not changed.
That is amazing. So you have the one business, what's the name of it that you told us about?
So yeah, the first business is hand in hand counseling. It's a private mental health counseling practice. We help people who are struggling with, depression, anxiety, trauma. We do individual and group therapy. We have a group of other licensed therapists.
Alright. And the second business, and how did it get started?
Vitamin C healing. It's my heart. So
Look
vitamin
at
C
it, just
healing,
like it's a
yes,
flower.
it's kind of shaped like a heart. My husband actually came up with the name. It started with my first book, Vitamin C Healing, Healing for the Mind, Body, and Soul. I wanted to write a book that encompassed everything that we experienced, it the human race experiences mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. How can I put all of that in a book when I talk about mental health and how it impacts us, trauma, and embracing your journey and putting some of my story in there and my experiences? And he's like, "Oh, vitamin C." And I'm like, "Ooh, I like that." So it was a book. The book was, it was successful for my first book. It won a couple awards, and one of my mentors at the time, Miss Diane Daniel, shout out to her. she spoke life into me. She's like, "Well, you know you can make this into a brand." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, let's get a logo and you can start speaking and hosting workshops." And the publisher was very supportive and they're like, "Just do some topics on chapters in your book." And I'm like, "That's a good place to start." So people were very receptive to it. I got booked for some small engagements around here. I'm like, "Hmm." And so I started because something else they don't teach us in school as social workers and therapists, at least when I was in school, was the business side of things. So I'm good at being a clinician, I'm good at being a social worker, but the business side of things. So now I had to get training outside of school. So I'm going
Mhm.
to marketing events, learning about businesses and marketing and all of this stuff that is, even though I had the entrepreneurial spirit, it's like, I don't know if I really want to do that. I just want to grow the business, but you got to work on the business, right? And
Mm.
so I'm going to these events and I'm learning a lot of things and I'm meeting a lot of people. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to write my second book. And I remember a mentor there and my cousin, who I also look at as a mentor, who is very good at business, saying, "Cuz, don't write that second book until you get a niche. You need to be known for something." And I'm like, he's right. And I'm like, but what? Self care, mental health. He's like, oh, this was in 2014. I'm like, oh, he's like, everybody's doing that. In the next 5 years, that's going to be like, so cliche, self care. And he was right. Here we are, 11 years later. He's like, think of something that affects the people you want to help. So I took some time, I thought about it. My husband came home from work. I'm like, hey, I want to write my second book. And I I don't know what I want to write about, but it really needs to touch people. It needs to be powerful. And he was like, well, think about how you feel when you come home from helping your clients. And I asked you how your day was, and you're like, well, everybody else got help, but I'm exhausted. He's like, there has to be a word for that, right? What is it? And I'm like, there is. And it's compassion fatigue. And nobody's talking about that. I just couldn't believe it. So I'm researching, and there really wasn't anybody in this region talking about it. So I started doing research. I connected with a woman in Canada who had online trainings about it. I took it, I got certified. So I started facilitating trainings and connecting with organizations. And it took off. I wrote a couple books about it. And now here I am, over 10 years later. And I thought during the pandemic it would slow down, but that's when it sped up, like because we were virtual. People are like, no, we'll do a Zoom lunch and learn. Our people need this. So compassion fatigue is still like the most requested workshop, lunch and learn, keynote. People want that and are feeling it even more now. So that is what the business has evolved to, um, helping helping professionals who are at risk for compassion fatigue and burnout.
Yeah, so and we were talking a little bit earlier, and I told you that, like most other entrepreneurs, I have more than one job, business, whatever, just
Yeah.
like you. And most of them know I am a Medicare insurance
Yes.
agent. And so, um, ever since COVID, it started a little bit before, but ever since COVID, that compassion fatigue because
Yes.
of the clients just the attention that they actually need right now. I
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
that could be it. So I believe it's across the board in all fields that we deal
Yes,
with.
absolutely. And let me just say what it is. I don't like to assume that people know. It's the physical and emotional exhaustion that causes a pronounced change in our ability to have empathy for the people we serve, for our colleagues, for our loved ones. And it's often referred to as the cost of caring. I refer to it as the common cold of helping professionals because
Wow.
if you are serving people, you're public facing, you're at risk for it. You're prone to catching this cold, but it doesn't have to be your reality. There are ways for us to build an immunity so that we don't find ourselves just overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. So when you think of this, because you think of hands-on people, you think of the medical industry, but I need
Mhm.
you guys to understand it's way past the medical industry.
Yeah, yeah,
Way past the medical industry. It's you. It's your clients needing you, having a need, not just a want, but they become dependent upon you. Am I correct? I mean, I'm just like,
You're right. You're right. It's, we're helping people who have experienced a lot of trauma, who have, and we're talking trauma is another buzzword, but there are, as they say, levels to it. There's a lot of generational trauma that people experience. And when you come and you are consistent and you're caring and you're non-judgmental and you become that one safe person, why wouldn't they latch on to you? They're going through that psycho stressors. Many of them have a lot of basic needs that they're not able to fulfill. And here you come with your resources and your empathy and your tone and all of that. So I'm not surprised. So what's in our control is how we navigate through that. What type of boundaries are we going to set? Because there is a way for us to be mindfully empathetic where we can hold space and be aware of how it's impacting us without getting lost in it.
yeah, that word empathy. I didn't know I had that until I left a client's house one day and I'm like, why does my chest hurt me? And I was like, okay. I called them back. I'm like, is your chest hurting you? Yeah.
Yeah, that transfer of energy, Angel, it is more contagious than a sneeze. When you are in a space with people and you are transferring energy and you're absorbing their stories and their emotions, it's like a social emotion contagion, they call it. Like facial mimicry, there's a term called that. When they're sad, you begin to frown. If they're crying, maybe you begin to cry. And that's when we are being mindlessly empathetic. We're not aware, we get lost in how it's impacting us, and that's when we carry it with us. That's why it's so important for us to be intentional about how we recover after each interaction. Like we got to take at least a minute for recovery. Oh, I'm busy, I got back-to-back sessions. Well, you got to find a way to prioritize this, because I have colleagues who will have 8 back-to-back sessions. So that's 8 traumas, psycho stressors that you've carried in just one day with no release. And then we haven't even talked about your personal life. You're going out into the world and you've been doing this for decades, and we wonder why we're anxious, we're overwhelmed, we're having panic attacks, we're numb, because there's just been a pile up on our nervous system with no release and no recovery.
Wow. Yeah. So, talking about all that and what you've learned so far, I mean, you've learned a lot. Oh my God, we've
Yeah.
learned a lot just in this little bit we've spoken to you. But what would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self?
That's always quite a reflection question. The first thing that comes up for me at 18, you're still a kid. Your brain's not even fully developed. So I can give my 18-year-old self a lot of grace, because she was doing the things that normal, healthy 18-year-olds would do. I was enjoying time with my friends. I was able to explore. I was able to, make mistakes and learn some lessons. But if I had to sum it up, it would be to speak up more. Just because you're 18 and you're legally an adult, you're an adult in the eyes of the law, but you're not an adult to your parents. Your parents still sometimes see you as a baby when you're 40 something years old. But that's another story. But I would say speak up and advocate for yourself. I was a shy kid. There was a period where I got bullied, and once I stood up to that, there was a pattern and a trend of me just wanting to please people and feeling like I always needed to prove myself to people.
Mhm.
And I had to grow through that. But at 18, I would say speak up more. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to use your voice.
Yeah, I get the bullying. I understand that. I understand 18. So I know girls' brains mature
Yeah.
at what age? 22, 23.
And boys
Well,
are
yeah,
like 27, 28, 30.
close to 30. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what they, given, something that I can't overstate this, Angel. And I don't think this is talked about enough, not to get too far off topic, but
We're good.
trauma impacts the wiring of our brain. So if someone has experienced childhood trauma or a traumatic event, if there hasn't been any healthy processing of it through like psychotherapy, that can also impact brain development. But the good news is the brain has elasticity, so it can be rewired over and over again. So it's not like doom and gloom, but that does impact how our brain develops. And it would explain why a lot of people are developmentally stuck. You think you're talking to a 35-year-old, but they display behaviors of a 12-year-old. Well,
Mhm.
there's some developmental stuckness. They're developmentally stuck or emotionally immature.
Yeah. And that happens. So talking
Mhm.
about developing, a little while ago, you actually talked about going to marketing events and
Yeah,
actually having to learn the business side of
yeah,
everything. So
yeah.
what's a key strategy that shifted your business that you took on from going to events or you learned along the way?
So, one thing, I don't know if this was a strategy. I'll talk about a strategy, but I like to talk about, I guess, like frameworks, was really treating my energy like it was the most valuable asset of my business. And I think that plays into when I was 18, telling myself to speak up. You get pulled into so many different directions as an entrepreneur, especially when you're new. Oh, you got to make sure you work on a business, but then you're still working in the business because you don't have a lot of help. Small business owners can easily find themselves working 80 hours a week. And
Burnout.
that might be on a low end. And then, oh, you have to make sure you're following up with people. And then you got to network. And then you got to there's just so much. So it's like, okay, my energy is without my energy, nothing happens. Everything gets shut down. I have to treat my energy like it's a profit, setting boundaries in business, dedicating time to working on the business. And that means networking, being intentional about networking. You don't have to attend every networking event just because you are invited to it. It needs to be aligned with your values, with your mission, with your business strategy.
Mhm.
And it just needs to make sense for you. It has to work for you. So being intentional about that, something that I found helpful was setting a quarterly goal. Okay, this quarter, I'm going to be intentional about attending 3 events, and I want to make sure that I meet X amount of people who we can work together. I can be a resource for them and they can be a resource for me versus just mindlessly or blindly going into it and hoping it works out, because it can become a full-time job that burns you out. I see a lot of my entrepreneurial colleagues getting burned out from these networking events. Those networking events can be a great thing because you got to make relationships. You got to build relationships in business and entrepreneurship, but you also have to be very mindful of, just not overdoing it.
Right. If you're constantly at a meeting, how are you growing your business sometimes?
That part. Yep.
All right. What is one myth about being an entrepreneur that you wish everyone would stop believing and kick it to the curb? I got a few, but I need to hear yours.
I have so many, and I was reflecting on this. There's one that you have to wait to get started. People are always waiting for this perfect time. Oh, the timing's not right. I don't have enough money. What about this? What about my family? And it's like the clarity happens when we take action. It's not clarity and then action. The clarity is happening while you are taking action. You are going to make mistakes. That is the name of the game. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to lose money. You're going to make money. That is the name of the game. So if you're afraid to lose, afraid to fail, afraid to any of those risks and challenges, then it might not be for you.
Mhm.
Stop waiting until things are perfect or you have enough money saved. That is the biggest myth ever. Obviously, we need to have a strategy, but just understand that there's never going to be a perfect time or the right time or the best time. You got to just do it.
And not have it perfect. You have to understand it don't have to be perfect. Am I right,
It,
Charisse?
it will
Yeah.
never be perfect.
It will never be perfect.
Never. It just won't.
Yeah. I can find 1,000 things I need to fix. It's a timing aspect and it'll happen eventually.
Yes,
It's just yeah, that's it.
absolutely. Yep.
Alright. So, you talked a little bit about, families just now. It's not right for my family and so on and on and on.
Yeah.
I agree with that. People do that all the time.
Yeah.
How do you juggle a personal life with the chaos of not 1 business, but 2, and
Yeah.
also an author?
Whew,
That's full
Angel, sometimes I don't. There are some times where I speak about this and I'm like, wow, am I a hypocrite? And then I'm like, I'm human. There are going to be times where I don't, it doesn't happen that way. But what I do is when I feel myself becoming overwhelmed, the difference is I know the signs and I'm very attuned with my body and my environment. So when I find myself becoming short with the people that I love, where I'm feeling rushed and I'm over functioning, like I become this taskmaster, I take a pause, like, okay, what's happening here? And I feel overwhelmed. I feel overstimulated by everything that I'm trying to juggle. So I have to take a pause and ask myself, what is it that I need? Because there's clearly a need that's not getting met. And it's, do I need to rest? Do I need support? Do I need to take a walk? Walks are the most grounding thing for me, walks in nature. Um, just being able to sit in that silence and tune in to what it is that I need, and then understanding. I have a philosophy on balance. Um, it's not balance is a very interesting concept. That's the best way for me to describe it because there's never going to be 50-50. You're not going to have this pie where you're able to divide your life in all of these perfect slices. That's just not how life works. It really is about finding ways to integrate and harmonize and be in a rhythm with the boundaries that you're setting and holding yourself accountable and having your nighttime routines, having your shut down the day routines, and giving yourself grace if things don't pan out the way you expected them to. And understand there are going to be hard days where you are like, I'm just not balancing, there's that word again, balancing all of these things well, and just being able to give yourself grace for that.
Grace. It's my best friend, I can tell you that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright. We have a sister entrepreneur who's out there. She is getting ready to throw in the towel. She's on wit's end,
Yeah.
in the middle of a mess. What's your suggestion?
I would never want to invalidate anybody's experience by saying, stay the course, hang in there, because I think that's very cliche. But what I do want, the advice that I would want to offer, or I want to lean in and ask them to just make space to reconnect with why they got started. And has that evolved? Is that still true? And what is it that they need? And what would it mean for them to continue on? What would it mean for them to stop or pause? So I would really, to sum all of that up, I would advise them just pause, hold for a second, because that is a normal experience in this journey. I have quit a million times in my head. Like, I'm done with this. Like, this is for the birds. I'm tired of being paid late or underpaid, or, all of those things, or this is hard. People aren't returning my calls. And it's normal. It's human to want to be done with this. Our brains are hardwired for safety and comfort and to protect us. And when things get hard, we retreat, we disconnect, and we want to quit. And I would just encourage you to just take a pause. You probably need a break. Sometimes we have to intermittently disengage in order to passionately re-engage. And when we are disengaging, we want to reflect and process and really dig deep. Why am I doing this? And just keep asking ourselves why.
Yep. Why? That's it. Why? The other thing is I notice that when I get people talking, I can actually hear it in their voice what they're happiest about. And that's
Yeah.
really what they should be doing. They might be
Yes.
doing things going around it,
Come around in
but not
circle. Yep.
pinpointing inside of it. And that happened like this past week. I was talking to somebody and I was like, "Oh, this happens, like, your voice gets up, you get
Yep.
excited, when you talk about that, to listen to how you're saying things."
I would also, as you were talking about that, Angel, I was also saying it's important for entrepreneurs to have a therapist and or a coach. This is not a journey that anyone should have to travel alone. It can already feel like a lonely place because most people just don't get it. They don't understand what we go through on a daily basis. It can be a very lonely place. I make sure I'm able to invest in a coach. I have a coach that I meet with on a monthly basis, sometimes bi-monthly. Fortunately, we're able to check in between our standard meeting times, but I've just decided like that's going to be one investment that'll probably be forever, as long as I'm doing this business because it's helpful. I need someone who has been there. I need someone who understands, who can help me strategize, who can be objective. And I'm a therapist who has a therapist. I have a therapist because I get triggered doing this entrepreneurship journey. There are things that I need to make sure that I'm mentally and emotionally healthy
Yep,
and to be able to continue to serve in this way.
yep, 100%, you need both. It's part
You
of life
do,
these days.
you do, you do.
Yep. Alright, I wanna pull back a curtain, if you don't
Uh,
mind. Can
uh-uh.
we have a sneak peek into what's going on with you in the future?
Yeah, so right now, so you mentioned two businesses as if my plate isn't already full. But what we've been doing for the past few years is we've been recognizing social workers for the work that they do in the community. And we started here in Pittsburgh. We have the SWAG Awards, Social Worker Appreciation of Greatness. My husband also came up with that acronym. And every year in March for National Social Work Month, we recognize social workers. This year it's going to be in Western Pennsylvania. The long term goal is to open this up globally, but we have to start small to form our base, and it's growing. Each year it gets bigger and bigger. We're excited about it. So this will be our sixth year, and we recently expanded to make it a nonprofit. So we have the Swag Alliance Foundation, and we're able to help social workers all year round. Right now, we're accepting applications. Right now, it's just for social workers in Western Pennsylvania because that's where our first grant came from. But the more grants we get, the more social workers we can help with the cost of licensure, the exam licensure, because that can be a big barrier for people who are entering the field or people who are also in the field, because there's no secret, depending on your sector in social work, you might not make a lot of money. Social workers are undervalued, under recognized. So
Mhm.
we wanted to bring recognition. We wanted to offer support because we want to make sure that we keep culturally competent and quality social workers in this profession. We had a lot of social workers exit the profession around COVID. So our goal is to because we need social workers more than ever, especially now. So we're doing our part to make sure that they have the resources and the supports in place to want to stay in this profession. So that's what we are working on now.
That is amazing. So when is the grant, to apply ending?
Oh,
Right now, you're
so
taking them.
yeah, so right now, it's open if people want to, but they have to reside in Western Pennsylvania right now, but that's going to change once we're able to get um, grants from other places. People can apply at the swagfoundation.org for financial assistance. They can always get on the list, so it remains open to people. And our award ceremony is in March, March 7th. Every year we have it in March for National Social Work Month. The call for nominations will be opening up in September. So I'm just super excited about that.
Female entrepreneurs might have to come. It would be too much fun.
Oh my God, please, I would love that.
That would
Yes,
be
please
so much fun.
do. Please do. I would love for y'all to be there. It's
Yeah,
a great time. We have a great time. We really do. It's an
yeah,
experience.
that's awesome. All right, talking about experiences and having a great time, tell me about the songs that get you moving and grooving.
Ooh, there's a lot. So it's no secret. And my husband, he was like, "You're just now realizing that." But
Okay,
you
your
know,
husband, I'm sorry. Sorry, kudos to your husband. What is his name?
his name is William, but we call him Bill. Bill, he's from Brooklyn, so some people call him Brooklyn Bill. And he's been in the film industry for a very long time. He just has a creative eye. He's an artist. He draws, so he just has a different eye than most people. He's a creative, and I'm grateful because we obviously need that in our company. So he drew the logo, the vitamin C logo, the swag logo. He's just one of those people that can do pretty much everything and like effortlessly. He doesn't have to work really hard at a lot of things.
Yeah, you can tell he's
So
creative because everything you say he's done is all creative, and I'm like, "Okay,
yeah,
he needs
he
his
is
shout out. He
he
does
is
need a
this
shout out."
guy. But yeah, and so I have been a huge Beyonce fan forever. And I was like, the last concert I was telling him, I was like, I think I'm in the beehive. He's like, you're just now realizing that? And I was like, I just didn't want to admit it because, I don't want to be like a fangirl, but I think I might be. So love her music, her work ethic. Is just her work ethic inspires me just seeing like how hard she works and now seeing her with her children. And there's a few of her songs, but there's one just about formation, just
Um,
like being unapologetic and, just working and not feeling like you have to prove yourself to people. And there's another song by Eminem, Lose Yourself. It helps me with my mindset. Especially, I love to speak and I love, helping people, but I always get nervous when it's time to speak. So hearing that, how he goes through that description of how you feel, like palms were sweaty, mom's spaghetti, and I'm like, yes, yes, and it kind of like soothes me and brings me down, but also gets me ready. Like, okay, I got this. So those songs really get me going.
I love that. All right, what about a favorite book or books? Oh, your name. Oh, we need name of your 2 books too.
Oh, so obviously Vitamin C, Healing for the Mind, Body, and Soul. Like it was the first book and it just captures everything. A shorter book that is very popular is the When Helping Hurts, Overcoming Compassion Fatigue. A lot of people like that book and people love the workbooks too, because people like to do work. Well, not do work, but like, just kind of take notes while they're reading. But the other books, there are so many, but Darren Hardy, when he talks about the compound effect, that book and Entrepreneur Roller Coaster are what helped me in my transition from working my full-time job to taking that leap to full-time entrepreneurship. I was driving around the community visiting clients to help them with resources, and in between sessions I would just have that audible on in my car. Like it kept me motivated, it kept me plugged in and connected, and it just reminded me, just taking small steps each day, almost like money, compound interest. It's going to compound all the time. So just planting those small seeds on a daily basis. If you stay consistent and you keep doing it, it's going to compound over time. And I'm experiencing that. And it's like, wow. Sometimes you have to just pause and just honor your accomplishments and be proud of it instead of rushing to the next thing, like, all right, check that off my box. What's next? Let me accomplish that. Check that off my box. And then the entrepreneur roller coaster, which I recommend for any entrepreneur, because it just speaks to, like, when you were asking what would you tell that entrepreneur that's having a hard time, that's ready to quit. It normalizes that process. It truly is a roller coaster, and there are times where I check in like, okay, I'm on that roller coaster. I need to be on it, the highs and the lows and the peaks and the valleys. And if you listen to the audible, it's really cool because it has like a sound bite of an actual roller coaster and people screaming. It's like really cool. But those are the two books that have been um, extremely helpful in my business and with my mindset.
I can just envision,
Yep,
with
that's
her.
exactly how it is. I'm like, yep, that's how I feel some days. And I'm sure anybody who's on this journey is very relatable. And the stories you like laugh at, I'm like, yep, I remember that. I can relate to that. It's just, it's good. I highly recommend.
All right. What about quotes? I know you love your
So
quotes.
I am a quotes person. One of my favorite quotes is the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Just a reminder that we're constantly in a in an uncomfortable place in this. It's just a reminder that we have to learn how to navigate through discomfort. There's another one about fear. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Fear is a natural emotion. It's okay for us to have fear. It reminds us that we care, that we're tuned in, that we're human and we have a pulse, but it's about how we use that fear, how we're going to navigate through it, and then prove yourself to yourself and not others. Something else in this entrepreneurial space is so easy to find ourselves in a competitive space. We're in a capitalist society, and people are often pit against each other, especially women. Women are constantly pit against each other. So just a reminder, it's about proving yourself to yourself, not others. You're not in competition with other people. It's about you and how you can be a better you every single day.
Definitely. I love those quotes. Those are amazing. So on a much lighter side, if you had a superpower for just 24
Ooh.
hours, one day, what would it be?
I wish I had a few, but one, I'm sure
Oh, we can
everyone.
combine them.
I bet so that's the super power, combining all of them. But the main one that I think encompasses everything, I'm sure every woman on the planet can relate to this. I wish I can clone myself. Um, I was just saying that the other day. I'm like, the overthinker in me is like, oh, but what if this happens? What if this clone turns out to be dangerous? And it does. Like, Sharice, do not go down that rabbit hole. Just, I would like to clone myself so that I could, and that might be the controlling part of me. Any entrepreneur who says, "Oh, I'm not controlling," yes,
Oh.
you are. And it's not always all of these, it's not a bad thing, like it can serve a good purpose for you. It serves to keep you organized, to make sure things get done. If you're an entrepreneur, you have a controlling part of you. And that clone is the controlling part, because I would have like three Sharices who knew exactly how to get things done, how I wanted tasks done, how I wanted things cleaned, how I wanted things to look on a daily basis. I'm like, that would be incredible. I would have three mini Sharices running down around here and nobody would know. They would just think it was me. So that would be my superpower, to be able to clone myself three times over.
So, have you ever saw the movie Multiplicity? I think it's with Tom
Yes.
Hanks. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
I was
Mhm.
thinking about.
All right. So, I mean, you understand people running on empty, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, you run on empty too sometimes, but
Oh yeah.
how do you stay motivated? Because, I mean, motivation can get you out of the emptiness sometimes, I believe.
Hmm. Hmm. So when it comes to motivation, the thing is accepting that you're not going to be motivated every day. There are very the times that you are going to be motivated are probably few and far between. That's something that I've had to come to grips with a long time ago. So it's more about discipline and developing process. One of my mantras is waking up to a process, not just waking up and letting the day run. Another favorite quote is run the day, don't let the day run you. That is how I remain disciplined. That's how I do the things I said I was going to do when a mood passes. And I have to ask myself, is it a lack of motivation, or is it that I'm really exhausted and I need rest? Because most of us who are entrepreneurs are type A. So it's not that we're lazy and trying to escape it. It might be, sis, you need a break. You need to take a pause, like take a day off, take a nap, you know, if you can afford to go to the spa, like do something for you. So I have to constantly be tuning in and asking myself what is, and if it is a lack of motivation, okay, so that might also be information. But I really want to drive home that we're not going to be motivated every day. We're just not. I would highly advise waking up to a process. What does that process look like for you? And having a routine, having discipline, because when you have a routine and a discipline, that's how you are going to hold yourself accountable, not motivation. Motivation is like taking a shower or a bath. We have to do it every day because it, or every other day, depending on who you are, because it wears off. And that's the same thing with motivation.
That's cute. Taking a bath every other day, okay, or every
Yeah.
day. Yeah, I have to
Whatever.
have one every other day. I live in the South. It is hot.
Yeah, I bet it's hot here, so I can't even imagine what it's like down there.
Yeah, New Orleans is hot. I can tell you that,
Oh
and
yeah,
London.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right. So, what is the best way for our audience to stay connected with you?
Yes, you can subscribe to our mailing list and you will get a free ebook combating the common cold of helping professionals, caregivers, people in the helping profession. If you visit www.sharicenance.com, my first and last name, and you can follow me across all social media handles at Sharise Nance as well.
Awesome. All right. So, let's do a mic drop moment. And with that
Mhm.
mic drop moment, is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to share with the female entrepreneurs out there today?
I just want to leave you with, you can't be a top performer if you don't feel well. Prioritize your well being.
Yep, that's so true. All right, Charisse, I loved having you here. You are so much fun. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. I loved it too.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.